Okay, today we are talking about Chapter 5, Section 8, solving equations by multiplying and dividing fractions. Copy that down. So my first example, we have the equation 7y is equal to 1/3. Well, the only thing that's different is instead of it equaling a whole number, we're equaling a fraction. So what would you do to undo 7 times y? Well, it hasn't changed. We're going to continue. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to divide by 7. And we know that 7 divided by 7 gives us the 1y that we're looking for. But we need to now take 1/3 and divide it by 7. Well, 1/3 divided by 7, we're going to keep, switch, flip. So it's 1/3 times 1/7. And 1/3 times 1/7 is 1/21. So we're dividing by 7. So 1/3 divided by 7, we have to use our technique of keep, switch, flip. And then it would become 1/21. All right, let's try, why don't you try this one? We have 8x is equal to 5/7. I'll let you pause this and then I'll work it. All right, so hopefully you guys have worked this problem. We're going to divide both sides by 8 because that's what I would do. To undo multiplication, I'm going to divide by 8. I have a fraction within a fraction, so I have 5/7 divided by 8. So I'm going to keep, switch, flip. So that's 5/7 times 1/8. There's nothing I can simplify, and it becomes 5/56. All right, why don't you try this one over here? 3a is equal to 4/5. 3a is equal to 4/5. You can pause this. All right, so of course I would undo multiplication by dividing. When I divide both sides by 3, I have 4/5 divided by 3, so I'm going to keep, switch, flip, because that's how I divide with fractions. I keep 4/5, I multiply by 1/3, and there's nothing to simplify, so I get 4/15, 4/15, and that's in simplest form. All right, we could think of this problem that we just did above. We did 8x equals 5/7. Another way of thinking about this is instead of thinking of dividing by 8, it's the same thing to multiply by 1/8. So dividing by 8 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/8. So if I just do that right away, I'm going to multiply by 1/8 and 1/8, and then I would get that same answer as I got up above, is 5/56. So you can think of it this way as dividing by 8, then keep, switch, flip, or you can do it right off the beginning. So instead of, since I know I have a fraction on this side, I'm going to multiply by 1/8. Well, we'll look at that in a minute, a little bit more in a minute. Let's look at example 2. So we have 2/5 w is equal to 13/15. Now you can write it like this, 2/5 w, where the 2/5 is the coefficient in front of w, or sometimes they write it like this, 2w/5. This means the exact same thing. This means the same as this, because 2 times w is 2w, and 5 would be times the 1 in the denominator. So you can see it either way. It doesn't matter which way they give it to you, your response is going to be the same thing. So if I have this, I'm dividing by a 5 and multiplying by a 2, just like you can see it here. It's clear. I'm dividing by 5, but multiplying by 2. So we're going to undo both things at the same time. I'm going to undo dividing by 5, and I'm going to undo multiplying by 2. To undo dividing by 5, I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. So I put the 5 there. And to undo multiplying by 2, I'm going to divide by 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 5 over 2. Because the 5 will cancel with this 5, and the 2 will cancel with this 2, and that turns into a 1. And that's what I always want to happen. So whenever I have a coefficient that's a fraction, I'm going to actually multiply by the reciprocal. If the 5 is in the denominator, I put it in the numerator. And if the 2 is in the numerator, I put it in the denominator. That's the definition of what a reciprocal is. So if I multiply this side by 5 over 2, I automatically have to multiply the other side by 5 over 2. So that's what's going to work to help me solve this to get 1w. And then that all turns into a 1, or just w. And then I see that 5 and 15 simplify. That's a 1 and that's a 3. And then when I multiply across, I get 13 over 6. And that's improper. And so I'm going to turn that into 6 goes into 13 2 times with 1 left over, 2 and 1 6. All right, so let's try one. So here I have an equation. Now we've done this, we did this I think in 6th grade. So this should be a little bit of a review. So we have a fraction as our coefficient. This is like saying I'm multiplying by 2 and dividing by 9. So I want to undo multiplying by 2 by dividing by 2. So I put the 2 in the denominator. I want to undo dividing by 9 by multiplying by 9. So I'm going to put the 9 in the numerator. So if I do that to this side, that's going to work to get a 1. I have to do it to this side. Go ahead and finish this problem and get your answer. Pause this. All right. I'm going to simplify this. The 9 and the 6 both have a 3 in it, so I'm left with a 2 and a 3. There's nothing else in common. 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 2 is 4. So my 1t, or t, is equal to 15 fourths, which is 4 goes in there 3 times with 3 left over. 3 and 3 fourths. All right, now I'm going to have you try this one on your own. 3/4 s is equal to 8/9. Go ahead and pause this and everyone work it out. All right, good. So to get rid of multiplying by 3 and dividing by 4, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to multiply by 4 and divide by 3. So everything cancels out and this turns into a 1. So if I do it to this side, I have to do it to that side. I look to see if there's anything I can simplify. There is nothing. These are made up of 2's. This has got a bunch of 3's in the denominator, so I just multiply across. I have 32 over 27, and 27 goes into 32 one time with 5 left over, so it's 1 and 5 27s. All right, we have example 3. Example 3, we have a negative fraction or coefficient in front of our variable. Negative 20 over 27, c is equal to 4/9. So now if the coefficient is negative, I always want to turn this into a positive 1. So to get rid of a negative fraction, I'm going to have to multiply by the negative reciprocal. So what do you think I'm going to multiply both sides by? Negative 27 over 20. And if I do it to this side, I have to do it to this side. Because when I multiply a negative times a negative, I'm going to get a positive 1, a positive. And then the 20 simplifies with the 20, the 27 simplifies with that 27. So I have a positive 1, so I found out what c is. And now I just do the math of 4/9 times a negative 27 over 20. The 4 can simplify with the 20 to get a 5. The 9 simplifies with the 27 to get a 3. I see that my answer, don't forget to figure out your sign, my answer is going to be negative, and it's negative 3/5. And if I were to take negative 3/5 and multiply it times negative 20 over 27, I would get 4 ninths. All right, let's have you guys try one. So we have negative 6/7 r is equal to 3/4. Negative 6/7 r is equal to 3/4. Go ahead and pause. Okay, we're back now, and we would multiply both sides by a negative 7/6. Because I want the 7's to cancel and the 6's to cancel, and the negative times the negative is going to turn it positive. If I did it to this side, I know I have to do it to that side. I can simplify the 3 and the 6, and then I get a 7 in the numerator and an 8 in the denominator, and my answer is r is equal to negative 7/8. Because I had a positive times a negative gave me a negative. All right. We have one more example. Example 4. And again, we've seen this before. If I have a mixed number, so it's 3.5 n is equal to 28, I would have to, before I can even undo this, because I know I'm going to have to undo multiplication, so I'm going to have to divide or multiply by the reciprocal, but before I can do anything with the mixed number, I have to turn it in proper. So 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 is 7, so that's 7 halves over n is equal to 28. So 7 halves n equals 28. Now, I'm sure you all know what to do. You have 7 halves. You want to get rid of 7 halves. So you're going to multiply by 2/7. If I multiply this side by 2/7, I've got to multiply this side by 2/7. This simplifies out. The 7's are gone. The 2's are gone. They all turn into a 1, so I have 1n. And then I just do my math. Remember, the 28 is in the numerator. It's as if it's over 1. So the 7 and the 28 turn into a 4 and a 1. And then I just say 4 times 2 is 8, and 1 times 1 is 1, so I know it's a whole number because I only have 1's in my denominator. All right, so why don't you try this one? Notice the variable is on the other side. So remember, you always focus in on where the variable is when you're trying to undo whatever's being done to the variable. So go ahead and solve for r, and you can pause this. Okay, so hopefully everyone is done. So we are going to turn this to an improper fraction. So 6 times 1 is 7 plus 1, 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1 is 7. So you have 7 6r and negative 7/20. So to get rid of the 7 6, I'm going to multiply by 6/7, and I'm going to do it to both sides. The 6 and the 6 cancel, the 7 and the 7 cancel, that's what I'm looking for. I'm left with a 1r, or just r. And then when I do the math over here, I can take a 2 out of the 6 and a 2 out of the 20. The 7's simplify to be 1's, and so I have 3 times 1 is 3, 1 times 10 is 10, and I see that my sign is a negative. Don't forget to put the proper sign. So it's negative 3/10 is equal to r. All right. Good luck on your homework.